Okay, now we're switching gears. We're going over to square roots, simplifying some radical expressions that are irrational so they don't come out to nice whole numbers. So, keep in mind your perfect squares. Somewhere in your head or on your paper, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25, 6 squared is 36, 7 squared is 49, 8 squared is 64, 9 squared is 81, and so forth. Remember I told you the other day you probably want to have a list of your perfect squares, perfect cubes, and those things. So we're working with square roots. We want to look at our list of perfect squares. I want to rewrite this in simplified form. So what I want to do is find the biggest perfect square that divides evenly into 45. So this is what's going through my head. These numbers are all bigger than 45. 36 doesn't divide into 45. 25 doesn't divide evenly into 45. 16 doesn't, but oh, 9 does. 9 is my biggest perfect square that divides evenly into 45. I'm going to rewrite it as 9 times 5. 9 times 5 is 45, right? I'm then just going to do the square root of the front one because the front one is a perfect square. The square root of 9 is 3. So that's a nice whole number. It's no longer underneath the radical sign. It's just a plain 3. This one I can't simplify. I don't really need the times sign in front of it, so I just put it in as 3 square root of 5. It means 3 times the square root of 5. We just don't put the times sign there. So number 24, we want to write that in simplified radical form. I want the biggest perfect square that divides evenly into 24. If you look at that list of perfect squares, what divides evenly into 24?
4 or 6, right?
4 is on my list. 6 is not, right? It's going to be and 6 because 4 times 6 is 24. So the square root of 4, that's my perfect square, times the square root of 6. And then I'm going to simplify the square root of 4. The square root of 4 is 2. So the 2 goes in front, and the square root of 6 is going to be behind it. 2 times the square root of 6. Square root of 32. I want to simplify the square root of 32. So looking at my list of perfect squares, what's the biggest one that divides into 32? 8. Is 8 a perfect square? It does divide into 32.
Yeah. Well, we're not looking for that.
Can you do the square root of 8?
No.
No. It's got to be a number that's a perfect square.
4 then.
4 does go into 32, but it's not the biggest one.
Oh. 6.
6
No.
isn't on my list. So
Well,
here's
else
what I'm
goes into
thinking.
32?
36 is too big.
Yeah.
Does 25 divide evenly into 32? No. Does 16?
Yep.
Oh, there's the number I want to use. So I'm going to say that it is 16 times 2 to get 32. And the square root of 16 is 4. So I get 4 square root of 2 for my answer. Now what happens if Charlene said it's 4? Okay? 4 times what is 32? 8. Square root of 4 is 2, and I get 2 square root of 8. If I put 2 square root of 8 in, they're going to tell me it can be simplified further because 8 can be factored out, right? 8 can be written as 4 times 2. And then I can take the square root of the 4 again. So now I have 2 times 2 times the square root of 2. And 2 times 2 is 4 times the square root of 2. So I can get there eventually,
We don't want that one.
but if you find the biggest one first, it was a whole lot shorter, right? So that's what I'm thinking when I'm simplifying, is I'm always thinking about, okay, these ones are all too big, and I'm working my way backwards down my list so that I pick out the biggest perfect square when I simplify. We're going to get more practice here on the next ones.